Hello, and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that's heralding the return of Brenda.
Ugh,
Brenda's back, Britt. Brenda.
Brenda. Who? Who's Brenda?
Everybody's favorite character, Brenda.
Yeah, yeah. Brenda, who we saw once last season, and now just shows up for a super fun, amusing cameo of just being a total cunt for like 2 minutes straight and then leaves. And then we
Brenda's
never see her again.
Brenda's a truth teller, and we will see her one more time.
Great.
Yeah, they tried to make Brenda happen. I think that they should have gone a softer route to make Brenda happen, but all that and so much more on today's Facts of Facts. I am just relieved that we don't have to bounce around any naughty words this episode.
Really. Yeah, so that's what I said to you that you know, this week's episode 6 of season 4,
Dearest Mommie.
Dearest Mommie, was so incompetent
Yes.
and badly
Endlessly
made.
so. Yes.
Badly made, just all over the place, could be almost incoherent in terms of what message we're actually trying to have here.
What
Lack of
message, motivations, just like honestly, like simple plot device.
simple plot devices, just general dialogue structure, jokes, no jokes, almost zero jokes.
I will say,
However,
I do have a couple of laughs in this episode, which
but
I am happy to report. And we got
I will say
B
this,
plot.
that this was so bad, but because of the thing that we watched last week, which was shockingly abysmal and offensive, where every single character had to use a derogatory term repeatedly about the mentally challenged, which was shocking to hear in 2020. So, in comparison, this seemed like Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, I see. Here's the thing: is I actually was thinking that was maybe a better episode than this. It's a nightmare to get through. These are both the worst. But like, if you had to pick, like in terms of like when people talk, they make sense for the most part.
Yeah.
And when there's like a predicament, that predicament is more or less a genuine predicament. Whereas here in this episode, the predicaments are like little wrinkles in a bed sheet that you can just smooth over. But instead, you're like, there's a wrinkle in my bed sheet. I have to move.
Yes.
So in certain regards, and also really, really, meeting Natalie's mom under some terrible circumstances. This is not her best episode, and she is not a good character. She is a bad lady.
I wouldn't say she's a bad lady. I would say that she was, she's sort of like, like Jessica Rabbit. She's like, I'm not bad. I'm just drawn this way. She's not bad. She's just written this way. She emotes in very natural ways. This episode is about Natalie being a total piece of shit to her adoptive mom because she's like, actually, because the mom comes in and ruins her day, saying, you should maybe be a teenager for a little bit longer rather than a highfalutin teenage cub reporter for a New York newspaper. We actually think you're a little bit young to do that right now, Natalie. You're only 15. And so then she gets all mad. She's like, well, you're not my real mom. My real mom would know that I should be doing this. And then storms off, screams at her, sulks, and then everything kind of is over.
See, now I see this completely differently. That's interesting that's the take that you got. I wasn't expecting that because I was like, what an unfair, terrible, horrible mom this is. Like, Natalie is given an opportunity. She is the titular person of this column about experiencing life as a teenager, and her mother doesn't want her to do it because she wants her to experience life as a teenager. Well, I got to tell you that I've experienced more life because I had deadlines and had to write about it than in any other circumstance in life. And
Right.
she's like, I want you to be a teenager. Being a teenager involves responsibility and
Yeah.
deadlines and having opportunities and being able to succeed and fail under your own merits.
Right.
Her argument for Natalie was so paper thin and bizarre that if I was the recipient of that argument, I would lash out with whatever would hurt my mom the most, because only thing that Natalie talks about is journalism. And Natalie is not exactly Blair in terms of I go on campus and I get the ultimate campus experience of
Mm-hmm.
boys like me, girls want to be my friends, I'm great at all these things. Natalie doesn't have that experience. You know what? Natalie's experience could be greatly helped by being at the hip and cool downtown, the beat place where there's probably LGBT people, there's probably people of color like Tootie who she's drawn to, and she could really blossom. This seems like a wonderful opportunity, and Natalie's mom also let it go on to the point where Natalie had already told everybody at school and had seemingly accepted this position. So I feel like it's irresponsible to then be like, well, now that you've gotten your hopes set on this, I'm going to take it away from you because you're 15 and you should be 15, not writing a column about being 15. Also, she lives in the city. I think she was just being like, I don't want you to stay at home. Like, I don't want you to have to come home 2 nights a week. I sent you away for a reason, and I don't want you here. I want to sit in my weird blue house coat and I want to read my weird old book in the middle of the day while my husband is cheating on me. It's been confirmed, and she's still staying with him. She's setting a bad example all around. I find Natalie's mom to be a bad person. Thank you for letting me have that rant.
No problem. However, I beg to disagree, because the only reason there's conflict in this entire episode is because the mom had to do this evil thing at the beginning, which was to remove the thing that Natalie wanted the most, which was this, column for this cool hip newspaper. If that didn't exist, then this would have just been an episode where Natalie wanted to find her birth mom, her bio mom, to learn more about herself. We could have just had that as an episode. We could have seen her bio mom. We could have seen the conversation that she has with her and realizes that all of the reason why she loves to write and why she loves journalism and why she's so creative is because of the people that raised her. We don't even see this is a whole MacGuffin, because it's to show that her adoptive mom and parents did a great job raising her, so that that's the reason why she loves what she loves writing. So they ended up shoehorning in this problem, which is that already has gone to Natalie's head immediately. The first fucking thing is that Tootie and Blair like punching up her goddamn fucking ego, so that I wrote down, oh no, this is going to be Natalie focused and it's going to bring out the worst traits in her. They're like, Tootie's like, do you think you're going to get an expense account? And Blair's like, well, I think you should ask for a car and a driver, and you definitely need new clothes because you're going to be hanging out with the New York City in crowd. And Natalie's like, oh, stop. Oh. And she's the worst.
All right. Well, as we get into this, I will say.
Let me just say one thing about this is that, again, like every Facts of Life episode, the thing that it's purportedly going to be about, the one thing that the main character in this episode is excited about, is super jazzed, is like it's a dream come true. Is it going to happen? No, it's going to be ripped away from her like a baby torn from its mother's arms. She's so excited about this that it is turning her into a monster, which I think is an interesting subplot.
Where is she being turned into a monster in this episode? I understand that they kind of like say it, but like aside from wearing shades and jokingly being self-aware of now I'm a celebrity, because she knows they're going to Peekskill, they're getting omelets. She knows that she's being facetious when she's like, I'm a celebrity enjoying her moment. I only think that she's monstrous when it's taken away.
So she's monstrous then, but right in the beginning, in this first scene, when all the other girls are, aside from fucking Brenda, Debbie Downer over there, who comes in and is like, I heard you got a cool new thing. Enjoy it, you dumb cunt. She's like, oh, you disappeared.
Keep going.
So, you know, she's like she's like, oh, you know, super excited. This is very important. And, you know, and the thing is that automatically means that this plot is bound to be disappointing and pathetic. And Tootie says, Natalie Green and Woody Allen dancing till dawn. I mean, this is not inaccurate because Woody Allen does like teenage girls.
Yes.
So,
okay.
So then
I feel like you're jumping
Natalie,
super far ahead.
And then Tootie says, "Oh,
Brett.
Natalie and
Brett.
Warren, Natalie and Dustin," and Natalie's just like, "Oh, stop!" in the worst glottal, phlegmy voice, as though she drank a whole gallon of milk before she was like, "Please keep the compliments coming."
Okay, whoa, calm down, because you've jumped far ahead of many topics that I would like to discuss. The first one is, who is this person that Mrs. Garrett is sitting at a table doing arts and crafts with? I've never seen Mrs. Garrett interact with Riff Raff once on this show. It's as though those people don't exist. And here they just had her just crafting.
It was weird. Also, there were so many people in this scene.
Yes. Also, I haven't talked about our writers.
Yes.
So
that's why this is so incoherent of an episode, is because the thing is that when Natalie gets this opportunity to be have her own teenage girl column, Nat's Chat in the New York Beat, and then it's taken away from her because her adoptive mom thinks that she's getting too above, that she's not taking enough time to be a teenager. That then becomes the crux of the episode, which is that Natalie wants to learn more about her birth mom, which we could have just had that. Why did we need to have this whole thing about the column?
Because we had that last time. That was the last one. This is the natural progression from that episode, adoption. This is the I guess. But let's so it was directed by Azad Khalada.
Yeah.
As always. And they've brought back the deadly duo of Stuart Wolpert and Deirdre Fay, which I think brings out the angriest sides of both of us, just in different directions. They do not do this show any favors.
No. As I said, it also it's like the structure of the episode is weird. The motivations are odd. Because, I completely agree.
They went back to old style in terms of structure, where it's like 3 long scenes and then a brand new location that's elaborately decorated.
Yes,
and I don't know why that's a thing that they like, but it's very Stuart Wolpert and Deirdre Fay.
And it's also I felt like we were back in the first, maybe the second season, where there was an A plot and a and a half or half.
Oh, okay. Now, I will fight you to the death on this. That B plot makes my heart sing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
The only thing that is missing from it is a third beat to make it an actual B plot. It just has the two. But when I do think about this episode, I do think about Blair talking to her yo-yo, and that has always made me smile. So you're just angry today.
This was offensive. I can't believe they were like, we're going to do a very special episode about Natalie Green meeting her birth mom for the first time. And we're going to have Blair shoehorned in trying to master how to play with a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Incompetently. What is this?
It was so weird. I love it. I loved it.
That's like Joe meeting her, finally, as they mentioned, Joe meeting her dad, who's been in jail for 5 years, and Blair being like, you know what? this week I'm going to learn how to ride on a unicycle. It's like, what? Why are you doing this? You could just have Blair not do anything. She doesn't even need to be there. They could have just paid her to not show up.
Britt's coming in hot today.
Yeah.
Okay. So as said, Natalie's entered flanked by Blair and Tootie. We've talked about this. So this random girl congratulates Natalie.
Yeah. She goes, congrats, and then leaves. We never see her again.
Like, what the fuck was that? Like, what was going on there? So she doesn't get a name in the show, but my internet sleuthing tells me that this is Kimberly Craig.
Okay.
Has apparently done this 11 times on The Facts of Life.
As different people?
Well, here's the thing is she seems to have decided that her name is Linda.
Oh, she did that.
I mean, the show certainly didn't.
See, that's my favorite thing is that it's like, people like, that's such always like a funny, like kind of runner in like any show about the entertainment business where it's like, an out of work actor is like, I just need to really figure out my motivations for this. And like the casting people are like, you're a waitress. You literally come up, you say, can I take your order? You take the order and you leave. So can you just do that? And it's like, well, I just need to understand what my motivation is. And I've also named myself Mary because that is a very important name for me as an actress. My dead mother is named, and it's like we're literally casting you as waitress number 1. You don't need any motivation. So I love the fact that this woman is just like, I'm Linda, and I come up to Natalie to say congrats, and then I walk off.
From what I understand,
walk off.
They make more money if they have a name. It actually means something in the guild. As not an actor, I don't know, but I do know that when we cast somebody on our pilot, they didn't have a name, and the actor actually was like, "Hey, could I have a name? I don't care what it is, but a name would help my career." And I was like, "Yeah,
whatever. Okay,
Bob.
Ted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob." Yes. So she did this. Kimberly Craig did this 11 times, 11 episodes of Facts of Life. She's at least in the background and maybe gave herself credit. I don't know. We're going to get through all of them, but we've apparently experienced a few of them already.
It's all coming back to me now. All of the times we've seen Linda.
She has one other credit, and that credit is the best movie ever made. It's called it's just called the best movie ever made, but Vibes is a great movie. But it doesn't even have a picture on IMDb, so something tells me it is not the best movie ever made, but that is its name. And
it's not called
to argue with Linda.
It's not called Linda, the best movie ever made.
So Natalie condescendingly goes, "Thanks, kids," to Linda and her friend.
Yeah.
I guess this was her being a monster in your eyes.
No, she goes, "Thanks, kids," and then she goes, "Oh, stop," later in this gross, horrible way when Tootie's envisioning all of the important men Natalie's going to be fucking on her team beat or whatever.
Yeah, that was a startling list of men known for having sex with younger women.
It was.
It was.
But I'm glad. I sure am glad that this had a lot of foreshadowing for the Woody Allen one. I mean, here's the thing.
Was impressive.
Sure, Warren Beatty was a known, he chased the muff around like it was his job. Dustin Hoffman, I guess, I think he liked having sex with young people, but Woody Allen, that's not what I expected. I guess maybe that's like a Manhattan ref, but when did that come out?
It's Dancing Till Dawn, and also he comes back. Of all the people, it's like Woody, he comes back.
Yeah.
So it was weird. Blutely are saying something about how Natalie's, Bluty, not Blutely. Different combination.
Yeah.
Bluty, just keep going on about how Natalie's going to need new clothes, which she already needs new clothes.
Oh, yeah. Especially later.
Sweater.
Especially the sweater that she wears that she chooses to wear later is real bad.
Yeah, it's really bad, and she says it's really bad, and it was like the costume designers were like, "Got it, we'll give her something really bad."
But thankfully, they didn't let the adoptive mom off the hook in terms of looking real bad either.
Oof a doof. We will talk about this shortly. Yeah, so Tootie lists off the list of old men that Natalie's going to be fucking. And then Mrs. Garrett walks over to explain that just because Natalie's going to be... Finally, I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I know.
For quite
No,
some
and
time.
again, Mrs. Garrett also super vague about this too. She
Yes.
goes, Natalie is writing a column for a New York newspaper.
Yeah, traveling to the city despite having made up a fake abortion story only a couple of weeks ago and being forced to step down from the paper in shame.
Well, exactly. It's as though these writers, Stuart Wolpert and Deirdre Fay, hadn't even read the script of the 2 episodes before this, so they shoehorned in the thing that they knew about Natalie from seasons past without having any sense of continuity of what has been taken away from her for having violated journalistic ethics.
Yeah, and it's literally like, if you look at it, you're on episode 6 of the season, so it's like, okay, so what has Natalie done so far this year? She's had 1 episode.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 that's there, the girls mostly all just got 1 episode. And Natalie's 1 episode is really the only one you need to check in on.
No, not even that. Which is why this was such a weird, bad episode, because it's like, had she had whatever else it was taken away from her by her mom, had her mom denied her the ability to know who her birth mother was, again, Natalie could have been angry at her and could have been like, I can't believe you're like this, that's fine to explore. But again, literally just give Natalie something else to do,
Yes. Well, anyway, so Mrs. Garrett's saying about how Natalie's life's not going to change. And then she lists, going back and forth. And then she also goes, she's going to have meetings. And then from going to have meetings, she jumps all the way to her name is going to be a household word, which is awful phrasing.
Yeah.
She could have said Natalie is going to be a household name. That would be better phrasing.
Really?
But
Dominik,
also, where is this leap coming from?
But also,
once you have meetings, the next thing you know, your name's a household word.
Well, right. So again, so your main criticism is that this was poorly written and makes no sense? Yes. It makes no sense.
Oh, in that one?
In comes Brenda.
Yes, the one and only, the light in my life, Brenda's, aka Susan Rennell, aka back then Susan Blackstone. Yes, she was Natalie's boring roommate, and it seems as though she seemed pretty mild-mannered back then. She just liked looking at rocks and stuff.
And being boring.
And being boring. But she's not boring anymore. It seems as though she's been spurned by the breakup between her and Natalie. Once Natalie was like, you know what, I'm going back to living with these crazy bitches. I get free food in the cafeteria, and the cameras are on me because the cafeteria is there.
Well, right, yeah, well, that's true. But also, I think that the point of Brenda was to make her the exact opposite of Tootie. So she was the polar opposite. She was not fun and fancy free, and doesn't like getting into hijinks. So excuse me, she's the exact opposite of Tootie, which is when Tootie and she break up. Then Natalie gets this boring ass person, Brenda, who now, because as you said, was rightly spurned, has turned into the world's worst person.
Yes. But honestly, like a breath of fresh air in terms of I feel like that hate that Brenda was spewing was the hate that Stuart and Deirdre have for this show. And that was the only moment that they were able to be their true selves. I do want to just remind our audience that while we always love her as Brenda, I'll always remember Susan Blackstone, née Rennell, in her role as Cassandra in the 2017 unaired short film I never saw, Gray equals wisdom, really, ? Which I believe won most punctuation in a short film at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes. It's a special award. It's the Grammar Award.
Yes. So please, if there's an eagle-eyed Facts of Lovely out there, my request to you is please get me a copy of Gray Equals Wisdom, really, ? I would love to see this short film. Susan,
Okay.
are you out there? We'd love to have you on.
Yeah. So
Reaching
Brenda
for the
comes.
stars.
Yes. Brenda.
Brenda has not taken her breakup with Natalie well. She is really angry.
Yeah, she comes and she throw a wet blanket over Natalie's celebration. She's like, "Yeah, I heard about your cool new gig."
I actually wrote the quote because
Yeah.
I was so woed by it. It was so intense. Really super about the new job, Natalie. Even if it means giving up your social life, your friends, and your family. What?
I know.
Where is she getting this from?
What does she think? What does Brenda think is going to happen?
I don't know. I just know that Brenda absolutely hates Natalie now. She has said it with such a tone. And then Blair tries to deflect, going like, I didn't know you were joining the Foreign Legion. Did you do any research on the Foreign Legion?
No.
I did. So I learned that anybody can be a Foreign Legionnaire.
Yes.
They don't swear their allegiance to France. But you fight for the actual French Legion instead. And if you get hurt, you instantly become a French citizen.
Ah.
Yes, it's the French word for it. I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it translates to you're French by spilled blood.
Okay.
And there are legionnaires from over 140 countries.
There's also Legionnaire's disease.
Oh, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I don't know anything about that.
So I don't know that much about it. It's a respiratory disease that is, I mean, now that we're under quarantine for COVID, I think it's a lung thing. The reason I know about it at all is really because in New York City, when it gets really, really hot during the summer and very humid, they set up cooling centers for the elderly, people who don't have air conditioners, homeless people, people who just can't afford to have cold air conditioning. And they discovered that Legionnaire's disease was breaking out in these cooling centers because it is passed through water droplets, and it comes from like dirty water, or it sort of comes, it thrives in water, and then if you just spray it onto vulnerable populations like the elderly, then they get sick and it causes them. I don't think I do think that some elderly people did die of it for the past few years, but like it was like kind of one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, I guess we should clean the cooling systems, and that sort of solved the problem. But
can I just stop you to say that there was venom in your face when you were talking about Natalie coming to grips as a 15-year-old with being adopted. Yet, when you mentioned spewing water on elderly people that was contaminated with Legionnaires, you lit up. You were glowing, and it was slightly disconcerting.
Only because it's such a ridiculously morbid, disgusting thing that the city of New York would. It's so beyond like parody of like incredible incompetence that they would just be like, oh yeah, we haven't cleaned those cooling centers machines since last summer. Whatever, it'll be fine. Let's just turn them on and spray it on those old people. And then basically it was like, oh shit, they're dying because they have, they're they don't have a really good immune system. So it's like just this sort of sheer insanity of how bad that was. And it wasn't really like a bad, horrible thing that happened. Like the city was sort of like, I guess we were at fault for that. Our bad.
Well, it's Brenda's bad when she says, Nat's chat at teenagers look at the world all mean. She says she doesn't know why a paper like The Beat would want a teenager's look on anything. And that feels really short-sighted, especially coming from a teenager. But if she had said, and if this is really down to the writers again, if she had more said like, I don't know why a paper would want your opinion on anything, I'd be like, yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think that Natalie's the best representative of what it's like to be a teen, but why shouldn't the Beat, which is, according to Tootie, a hip and happening, cool, young, artsy paper,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they want that?
I completely agree. Also, but I will say that you're absolutely right. You know, the New York Beat is hip and happening. It's young and artsy, right? So it sounds like it's downtown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Brenda could have really stuck the knife in and twisted and been like, well, yeah, why would they want Natalie Green over here who hasn't done anything in her life? Why would they want her? She's not even like cool. I bet she hasn't even heard jazz. You know, like she could be really insulting.
What if I were to like ding dong surprise you and had Mindy Cohen on the podcast? I'm just curious, what would happen?
I would say, you're such a good actress. I really bought your anguish during this.
Okay, well, she's not here today, but somebody offered to put us in touch.
Okay.
I know I haven't agreed or disagreed yet, but it would be pretty funny to have you guys hash it out.
Okay. Really? That would be great.
I'll see if I can. I'll see if what I can do. I hadn't made any steps one way or the other yet.
So you would want to ruin my life and make me confront someone who was a working actress almost 40 years ago.
She's still working.
Still working, but as a teenage actress on a very successful sitcom that is so poorly made that you would just do this for a lull.
No, I don't want to ruin your life. I thought it would be an interesting debate, but you know, I'll abstain. Honestly, that's why I thought twice before I said yes. Absolutely, set it up.
Oh, great. Okay.
But I think it could be fun. Well, maybe like in season 5, the show really gets a lot of croissants around then.
Uh-huh.
All right. So Tootie explains what the Beat is, and I'm like, holy cow. We've spent like 5 minutes eking out what the hell is going on. When Natalie could have just walked in and said, hey, Tootie, guess what? I just found out I'm going to be writing for The Beat, a column called Nat's Chat about a teenager's point of view. That's my favorite hip and happening magazine. It could have been the opening line, and then we could have had like room for jokes. And, you know.
And we could have had room to meet Natalie's biological mother. We could have had that scene.
No. Or we could have room to convince Natalie's mother to change her mind and let her take that job. I was so mad about this.
Again, I actually don't understand what's going on here, because this episode is not about the Beat. It's about.
I know.
And you and I have spent 20 minutes discussing this, and it's pissing off both of us.
I'm not pissed off. I'm more sad for what Natalie lost. But anyway, yes, I just felt like the way that they explained it was so leading up to something that was going to be important because of how it was teased out.
Right.
If it was going to be thrown away like this, it should have been said in a throwaway way, I guess, is my point.
It could have been, we didn't need this. The other thing is that, to be honest, I would have loved to have seen Natalie Green have this journey of being a teenage cub reporter. Why couldn't we have that? Why couldn't we let her have that journey? That could have literally been a whole episode. That could have been a season arc, to have Natalie in the newsroom, to have Natalie talking about, oh, I was just an undercover doing an expose on all those teenage prostitutes we met 2 seasons ago. You know,
they're all having abortions. Believe me this time. I swear, it's the truth.
Exactly. So like that would have, why shoehorn this good opportunity into something like this, where you could have just had the adoptive mom be the real villain.
Yeah, well, so Joe bursts in.
Ugh.
And she's like, Nat, your mother just showed up. And the way she says your mother really gives the implication that she's about to drop a sick burn.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. Nat burns herself by saying she's going to lunch and she wants to portray the right level of sophistication. So she's going to grab her shades because she's all out of bubble gum.
I wrote down that so Joe comes in to announce that Mrs. Green is here to take her to that she's your mother's here. I fisted her in the parking lot. And then Natalie just said something completely incoherent about wanting to appear aloof and sophisticated from her own mother. And then she said, so I got to go wear my sunglasses, which again, here's Natalie being shitty. Why would you want to be aloof and sophisticated with your own mom if you're going out for a celebratory lunch? And then she says, I need my sunglasses because I'm out of bubble gum.
Oh, okay. So yes, now, okay.
I understand logically, I guess how that makes sense because she's wanted to be like, I'm just chewing my gum.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that. But I will say the logic to me was not that she was trying to be aloof from her mother, but that she imagined whatever lunch destination they had, there would be paparazzi trying to get snapshots of the famous new columnist for The Beat.
Yeah.
So I think she was more like, I'll go out with my mother and it'll be like, oh no, cameras.
Yeah. So you're saying that this is a really nice part of Natalie that we're seeing in this episode. This is really cool for her.
It's not cool. It's definitely dorky, but I didn't think it was monstrous.
She's portraying herself in the most attractive manner possible.
That's not what I'm saying in the least. But I did write Wolpert. So many burns. Everybody's burning each other. This episode's just a dumpster fire. B-plot alert. They haven't tried this in a while, and I know we've talked about it, but I love it. You hate it. That's fine. We have to agree to disagree. Yo-yo plot is exactly what I want out of season 4 of Facts of Life.
You know what? If that's true, why don't you just make it the fucking A-plot? Why don't we just have a whole yo-yo episode?
I'd love that. And that is kind of what the show becomes.
That's what this show is. That's the thing. It's like, you know what? We're going to do an episode about abortion. But you know what? Tootie's going to clown school.
I mean, it is the facts of life. These things do happen. And sometimes, two things happen at the same.
That when you learn that teenage girls have sex and sometimes need to have abortions, that coincides with Tootie's, clown performance. Yeah. That's the insanity of this show. They mash up two things that should not be mashed up.
They're just learning B plots. They're just figuring them out. They haven't even figured out how to end them yet. I'm happy that they've attempted, and I'm glad that the B plot isn't, like sexual assault or making fun of the differently abled or something like that. So I was relieved. I found the yo-yo to be like when you get like the little lemony ice thing at the Greek meal to cleanse your palate.
A palate cleanser?
Yeah, because I felt a lot of rage for the A-plot, as did you. Different directions, but nonetheless, nobody's happy in this episode. But when the yo-yo stuff's happening, I'm like, oh, I like this. I really do. I remember laughing at it as a kid. It brings back pleasant memories. But also, it couldn't be more badly done. I give you, besides badly conceived, badly written, and badly done. Just so in
you're
general.
Enjoying it. You enjoy it just because it's so deeply, completely awful.
Probably. Like, at this point, we're 4 seasons into this show. I don't know what I feel anymore. But I do know that when Blair just sees Joe and shouts, annoyed, Joe, what are you doing with that yo-yo? I'm like, oh shit, B plot, love it. Let's go for it. Because they just dive head first and they give no fucks that it's completely at odds with the rest of the episode. To the point where later on, Blair is literally talking to Joe, and Joe's like, hang on, I'm checking in on the A plot. And Blair's like, did you say A plot? I didn't even notice. I'm so deep in my B plot. I'm just going to proceed as though you're staring at me. Garbage.
Yeah.
Anyways, Joe's cleaning out her trunk and she found her beloved childhood yo-yo. That's the plot. So she demonstrates around the world. She says, pay attention quietly to Blair. But the whole fucking school is like, oh shit, Joe's got a yo-yo. Everybody gather around. This is huge.
Yeah.
They're all like super psyched and they cheer when she delivers what I assume is a decent around the world. It didn't seem like that like mind blowing or anything, but I guess she did it.
Yeah, she did it.
And Blair's like, yo-yos are so beneath me. And Joe's like, you can't handle the yo-yo. And I'm like, I can't believe they let this on the air.
Yeah.
And then Joe calls Blair the K word. And then things get dicey.
Yeah.
You want to say it? Yeah, thank
Klutz.
you. I felt very uncomfortable saying it.
Yeah,
but...
and so she's like, yeah, a yo-yo you have to be you have to have a special yo-yo operator's license to do what I do with this. And then everyone's just like, it's like all the kids in the back are just like, oh shit, it's fucking on. And then she's like, yeah, people like you, you're fucking klutz. You can't operate a yo-yo. And everyone's just like, woo! What is happening? It's like World Star. Like it was going to be like someone was like going to start taking out like a little like camera, like Super 8 camera and start filming this so that we have footage of this giant epic fight of these two morons talking shit about yo-yos. And then Blair is just like, I can do it and can't operate a yo-yo.
Yes. I loved living through your eyes just now. I love this plot. There's nothing good about it.
I was like, but again, I've never seen Blair act like a klutz in my life.
Nope. Me neither. Blair's actually convinced that Joe has trained the yo-yo to embarrass her. What is this plot? It's so just like, it's just so like aggressively like plunked right there. And Blair then demands 1 week. I want 1 week to learn how to yo-yo. And Joe is like, you're on. And there's no stakes, no nothing, no. I bet dinner. You have to wash my dishes for a week in the kitchen. You're making my bed. Nothing. It's just, give me a week. You're on.
Yeah.
That's how little fucks were given to this plot.
And then what happens? Natalie's mom comes in.
Ugh.
So Natalie's mom comes in.
Just
Natalie's mom comes in, and she's perfectly whatever. Fine, whatever. But she comes in. The girls swarm her as usual. They just mob her. They're just like, oh my God, Mrs. Green, I haven't seen you in forever. Oh my God, I love you. I love you. I love you.
They were weirdly psyched to see her.
But they do that with every parent that shows up. They did that with Blair's mom too.
Yeah, it felt weird. She had also a lot of layers on.
Yeah.
Which is how you know that she's a green girl, because Natalie also lots of layers. Lots of layers, and always carrying coats for more layers just in case things get real windy and out of hand. I do want to take a moment to discuss Natalie's mom's, the actress that portrays her. Her name is Mitzi Hogue. This is the first of 3 appearances for Mitzi on this show. She passed away last year, actually, the age of 86, amassing a ton of credits. My favorite being Mrs. Kegel on My 3 Sons, which I think is great. Like, when you say Mrs. Kegel, you're like, oh, in like American Pie, like American Pie 7, The Ultimate Pie's Revenge. No, she's Mrs. Kegel on My 3 Sons in 1971. I love it. Her last role was as Mrs. Esther Comstock on an episode of Grace Under Fire in 1990. But she pissed off Brett Butler and she was never to work again.
She's known as the other Ellen in Los Angeles, that if you piss her off, you're never going to work again.
I think Brett Butler was known as being a tough cookie at the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think she has less pull. I saw her in something and I was delighted Do you know what it was? Just
No.
recently. She was all, "Hi, I'm old now," and I was like, "Oh, you're
What
still
was it?
good." I don't know, a movie or no, it was like probably a TV show that was like Big Little Lies or something, but not that because I don't even know if I watched that. I watched Little Fires Everywhere though. Maybe she was in that.
Maybe.
She's in
I think
something.
she
I
played
wasn't.
Reese Witherspoon's mom.
That sounds right. I think she's Reese Witherspoon's mom in the morning show. She is.
She
I can't
is.
believe you said Reese Witherspoon's mom.
She is. She is. Yeah.
That's where I saw her.
Yeah. Hold on. The great thing is that her I can't remember what the name of Reese Witherspoon's character is. Is it Jackson? Isn't that her
sounds
last?
right.
Yeah.
It sounds right.
And she goes viral because she says fuck on the air, and she's now she just starts being known as Two Fucks Jackson. Wow, the morning show is so bad, but like, whoa, like it. I watched it. I put it all in my eyeballs, and like in 2 days.
Two Fucks Jackson should meet Fuck Steve. They can make 3 fucks baby.
Anyway.
All right. So
this is Garrett.
Hang on.
Oh, we're gonna go and talk about this lady.
Yes, Mitzi Hogue also did 13 episodes of a 1975 Alan Alda created sitcom called We'll Get By. They didn't get by. It was just 13 episodes. She was married to Paul Sorvino on the show.
Oh, I thought in real life. I was like, oh, interesting. Mira's mom.
Willie Ames was one of her 3 kids on the show. And fun fact about We'll Get By, it was scheduled for Friday nights at 8:30. However, in many markets, for some reason, unknown to everybody involved, it aired Sunday mornings instead. It was just a nightly Friday night sitcom that just showed up in some places, always Sunday mornings. That's when you got it.
So weird.
I know. I tried to find information. It was just like, it just happened. Everybody was like, I guess that's fine. It was a different time. Anyway, Evie Green, she of many coats, has arrived to take Natalie to her paparazzi-filled lunch in downtown Peekskill. And everybody is very excited to see her and hear her vaguely racist takes on train travel.
Right. So this is where I was like, again, why the people, Stuart Wolpert and Deirdre Fay, like they could have said anything. They could have had her say literally anything. So Mrs. Garrett says, how is your train ride up here? And Mrs. Green says, train rides are always so interesting. I sat next to a man who spoke Chinese to me for 2 hours. Blair says, fascinating, enabling Mrs. Green to be weirdly racist. Then Mrs. Green says, I'm not sure, but I think we made a date for Friday.
She's got to get back at her husband somehow. If this is how she does it, this is how she does it.
But, they could have had her say literally anything about and especially about train travel, right? An alt could have just been, the way those dining cars shake and jostle, it should be illegal to serve hot coffee. Bad joke, not offensive.
Yeah, these were white capri pants when I walked in.
There you go.
Anyway, I promise I didn't poop myself.
Yeah. Even that would have been great. I would have loved hearing Mrs. Green say, I didn't shit myself on the way here.
It would have been better than what we got. Anyway, Natalie's mom asks how her daughter, the famous writer, has taken to fame.
Yeah.
Just in case we forget she's a writer.
Yeah.
We didn't, and we also didn't forget that abortion 3 weeks ago that you made up.
Yeah.
All this is an excuse to set up Natalie, who's taken to fame by wearing a big scarf and sunglasses. And it's November, so I can excuse the scarf. But the sunglasses, I guess, are to you indicating that she's now a monster.
No. It's that she comes in, she swans in this completely weird. Well, so the sunglasses aren't that bad, but it's like she's wearing the sunglasses. She threw on a beige blazer and then decided to put on a big red knitted scarf.
along with her green mint sweater and her button-down shirt that's underneath that.
What's happening here? Why couldn't they just have given her an actual, like, a sort of like more of a, like, you know, Norma Desmond scarf, so that she's kind of play acting at being very famous writer?
I don't know. She's got 47 layers of clothing on between the two of her and her mom. It's making me itchy watching them.
Yeah.
And then she calls her mom darling and declares it's absolutely delicious to see her. It was absolutely nauseating to see that. But still, I wouldn't call it monster territory.
It was obnoxious.
But it also felt like she was doing a bit. Like, she was like, I'm a famous writer now, Mom. Isn't it cute? That was the vibe I got. I didn't get
It wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. And it wasn't cute as at the beginning of the episode. She was already extremely annoying.
Yeah, also extremely annoying was this bit that really should have been edited out where Nat's mom is like, where's my kid? And Nat pulls off her glasses and is like, here I am. And they have a big laugh. What is this and why? You don't have an answer, I assume.
No. Well, I thought that it was, I actually thought that was kind of okay, because it was like, where's my kid? Where's my daughter? There she is. Because they were both kind of in on the joke, which I thought was kind of cute. And then they hugged for real.
Yeah, I thought it was fine, I guess. They were all in on all the jokes, though, I felt. There's some discussion of where Nat and her mom are going to go. It's unfunny and useless, but the screen comes alive when Blair screams out in pain. The yo-yo is attacking her.
Wait, before
totally
that.
Not Klutzy Finger.
So yes, of course. But before that, they talk about where she's taking you for lunch. And, Natalie's like, I don't know, someplace fancy. And Joe's like, you know where you should go? You should go to Josephine, Steve. That's real fancy. They even have a dress code. And Natalie's like, yeah, they make you wear shoes there, which I don't think I've ever been to a restaurant where you can not wear shoes.
Peekskill. There's a bunch of them. Or at least there was in 82.
But again,
I assume.
I took this as a sign of how unbelievably lazy and talentless Stuart Wolpert and Deirdre Fay are, because they were like, okay, so where should Joe's favorite restaurant be? Josephine's. That's fine. That's good. That's fine. Whatever. Let's keep it moving. We got to get this. We got to get all this fucking yo-yo B-plot in. Blair shrieks because she can't get the yo-yo off her finger.
I think at this point we have worked more on this episode than they have.
Yes.
Yes. So the yo-yo is attacking Blair's klutzy finger, and she calls for Mrs. Garrett to help, and Mrs. Joe makes sure that they don't cut the string, suggesting that they get the cleaver. When Blair says, "Oh, just remove my finger instead," facetiously. Yeah. Again, I liked that better than anything else that's going on in this episode. So that's going on about how she's going to have to miss some classes, and Mom's being really cagey. She brings up the dreaded bad news food that is omelets.
Yes. So, but I love this. Is that so basically the yo-yo business was to get Blair, Joe, and Mrs. Garrett off the stage. To get rid of them. They, of course, didn't get rid of Tootie in any way. She's just hanging around being a goddamn fucking creep so that she can overhear private conversation.
Yeah, and she's even like, at one point, like, hey, this is making me awkward. Go do your
Don't
lunch.
do this in front of me.
And it's like, leave.
Yeah, like
nobody's asked you to stay.
I know. But it was sort of like, but that was like, again, one of those weird things where I'm sort of like, Tootie would never be like, oh, there's something going on here. I don't want to stay around and learn what the secret is. I want to know immediately so that I can lord it over Natalie for knowing her secret or give gossip about it, whatever. But so then Natalie's just being like, yeah, so Mom, it's really convenient since you're here. Why don't you go talk to Mr. Parker, because, I'm going to be having all these editorial meetings. Okay. So I'm going to have to miss some classes.
And Mom is being really cagey.
Which, again, I think you're absolutely right about, she shouldn't have let this go so far for Natalie to have agreed to accept the position, applied for it, gotten it, accepted it, told everyone about it, excited, blah, 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 accepted the job from this editor of the New York Beat for the teen beat thing that she's going to write. And then mom comes up all the way, literally not having to, she could have had this as a fucking phone call. She didn't need to come up here to break this news to her in person. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so then she's like, no, I don't.
She couldn't give her omelets.
Yeah, so then she's like, no, I don't want to talk to Mr. Parker right now. Let's discuss it over omelets. Let's discuss this over a couple omelets. And Natalie's like, whoa. I know what omelets mean. Omelets mean the last time we had omelets, you told me I was adopted. No, that's not right. The last time we had omelets, you told me I had to take cello lessons.
How is that a bad thing?
But I guess like omelets are like, well, we broke a couple eggs, but like, so she has bad association.
Why is she like, you have to take cello lessons? Your life's not going to work unless you take cello lessons. I know this is not what you want, but that's why I'm going to give you omelets to make sure that you accept your medicine, which is cello lessons. It's such a weird choice of a specific shove in there.
Well, because it's sort of like, because again, it's something that she didn't want to do, right? It's like for school, like to be a better, more well-rounded person. It's like that's why we signed you up for ballet classes, and that's why we signed you up for French tutoring, and that's why we signed you up for how to operate a computer. All this shit, judo, whatever.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, my parents signed me up for every single fucking thing, from gymnastics to tap to ballet to vocal lessons to violin to clarinet. Drawing, like, and just to see what stuck.
My teachers recommended to my parents that I sign up for a sport because I was not social with the boys. And so they signed me up for bowling, which I hated, dreaded, and made the entire team hate me by the end. Although I don't know exactly how. I just remember at the very end, I was like devastated and shocked to find out that none of these people liked me. And I was like, then what was the point of this? And then I was done with sports from there on out.
So I'll say this.
I think it was like 7.
So, well, first of all, what 7-year-old is good at bowling? Because it requires so much strength. First of all,
I think they give you little kiddie balls.
Yeah, but the other thing is that you were like, I was confused as to why all these kids hated me. That might have been because, you hated bowling. You were signed up for the wrong thing, right?
No, I think that was as close to the right thing that I could possibly get.
I see. Because I will say this.
Like if they had mini golf, I guess that would be better.
I've gone bowling with you multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
You are the most apathetic bowler I have ever seen. You like just sort of drop it there in front and you're like, I'm only here to hang out with all of you. So the fact that you maybe tanked their season of your little bowling friends, maybe that's why they were pissed off. But like, again, maybe you shouldn't have been playing that sport.
It's quite possible. But I never had to do it again after that. And until I joined the high school radio station and had my own 80s radio show, I never did anything extracurricular again until that.
But that's dope. That's a really cool thing to have.
Well, that was, I loved that. Yeah, that was great.
Of course.
This is turning into therapy. Anyway, so Tootie tries to make this all about herself by forcing them to leave so she doesn't have to experience the tension, forgetting the fact that she can fucking leave the room herself if she wants, to the point where Natalie forces her mom to be like, what's up?
Yeah.
And Tootie just stays there like a Snoopy gossip.
I know.
She didn't like the tension, Tootie. Or is it your heroin?
No, I know. And I wrote down, so I said, so Tootie's like, please leave. Please have this conversation elsewhere. And that's when I was like, why? Of course, they're not going to have this conversation at Josephine's, the pro shoe restaurant that Joe recommended. Because why would we invest in having a, exciting, dramatic scene of Mrs. Green crushing her daughter's dreams in public and having
Yeah,
Natalie
you'd love that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course I would. But no, of course we have to have it in the fucking cafeteria because that's where the only place where big reveals happen. And of course, Tootie has to be there for it.
Yes.
That's where I wrote down, I hate this show in my notebook.
So Nat's mom's been talking to Nat's cheating dad.
Yeah.
And they decided that, Wally, no, this is a great opportunity and a dream come true.
We're not going to let you have that.
What?
We're not, because we know that this is a dream come true and exactly what you want, and it's going to be
and a
super
great
fun.
Opportunity.
We're not going to give it to you. You can't have it.
Because they don't want her to experience deadlines or pressure, which is literally all the things a kid experiences at school.
All the time. Yeah.
Yes.
And then she goes, so we don't want, this isn't the Eastlander. This is a big New York newspaper, deadlines and pressure. And she goes, I can handle it. And she goes, I know you can, but you shouldn't have to. You should have time for fun. And then Natalie explodes saying, I hate fun, which apparently I also hate fun because I'm still doing this podcast.
Yes. So, yeah, I also think that like it's pretty fun probably to get away from Tootie. So she will have fun.
True.
And also, it is really just not ever discussed that fucking Natalie's parents live in the same town as this newspaper, and it would only result in an opportunity to see them more.
Yeah.
And then so Natalie's like, Tootie, tell mom how I hate fun. The other day you were like, hey, let's have fun. And I said, no. And
please no fun.
Tootie very unhelpfully was like, well, what day was
when
that?
Was that?
Fuck you, Tootie.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
So that she can admonish Natalie after she screams at her mom later, and she goes, oh, Natalie.
Yes, it is. I wrote that when she gasps. I was like, so that is why.
That's the only reason why. Because here's why. So Natalie, Natalie starts, scream whining about how she can't understand. That these parents can't understand what's going on inside of her, and her
journalism teacher says that she is the most creative when it comes to creating abortions out of thin air.
Yes. And she says, of course I can understand what's going on inside of you. I'm your mother. And then Natalie shrieks, not my real mother. Tootie goes, oh, Natalie. And then Natalie says, well, she's not. My real mother would understand. You adopted a stranger and I'm still a stranger. Nothing's changed. And then stomps off. So I do think that Tootie was there to serve the purpose of kind of audience surrogate or like friend surrogate of like kind of knowing what the hell's going on, having witnessed Natalie's like meltdown so that she can be like, your mom, she can kind of be sort of reasonable, I guess.
And so even then, after all of that, Natalie storms out. Tootie still doesn't leave.
I know. She doesn't go after her friend.
No, she just stares at the mom. Mom stares at her like 7 solid seconds of just like silent reaction shots.
Yeah.
So it's just a poorly made episode. So now we're in the girls' room after what was a classic 7-minute opening scene. And
Natalie's despondently reading a magazine.
And I'm totally disoriented as to when this is taking place because Nat's not in her omelet eating finery.
I think it's the next day, don't you?
I think they eventually do say it happened yesterday, but at first I was really like, when is this? When are we? Very, very lost.
Yeah. Nothing makes sense. Again, so Natalie's despondently reading other people's journalism.
Yes, and Tootie comes in with great news about Brenda.
Super excited. Super psyched. Super
Brenda
excited.
Shit herself,
which is
and
weird.
Then her tampon fell out in front of everybody.
So she's like, oh my God. Clearly not reading the room. And also clearly having forgotten the terrible thing that she witnessed less than 24 hours ago.
I mean, I assume she was like, I'm trying to cheer you up. I know
Yeah.
what happened yesterday. I know it sucks, but
Yeah, she goes,
today
but
Brenda had that whole tampon thing, and it was
But-
amazing, and you need to be there.
but again, the other problem with this is she goes, Brenda did something. She goes, Brenda did something dumb in art class. And like Tootie's and like, Natalie's like, go away. She's like, but you live for those moments. And which, fair enough, but tell me, be more specific. As you said, she sat in a clay pot and it looks as though she shot her pants. Like whatever. I don't care. Just be more specific. Not like she did something dumb.
I agree. I think that was some weak ass writing.
Yeah.
But Tootie, Natalie gets no joy out of other people's pain anymore, which I guess good.
Is that the fact? Is that the fact of life?
Maybe that was the fact they were trying to teach us this week. It's really hard to tell. This is a really unclear mishmash of a garbage episode. So Tootie thinks it's because she turned down the job and said, oh, Woody will wait for you. And maybe, but only for like a couple more years, unless she wants to get adopted by him. Then he'll wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Nat says it's not the job. It's that she's stuck with this stupid lemon of an adopted mother. She's a fucking pits, and it's true, she is. Tootie says that everyone thinks the parents don't understand them. This is just like the time she wanted to get black rights activist Andrew Young tattooed on her shoulder, and her mom was like, no, get it as a tramp stamp.
Well, so this is the thing, is that she's like, so Natalie's still working through her feelings of the fact that she feels completely misunderstood by her parents. They're still
Are we going to
strangers.
not talk about Andrew Young?
We're going to get there. I just want to just talk about this for a second. And Tootie just blasts through that. And again, hello, congratulations, you've made this about me, She's like, yeah. Every teenager feels as though their parents don't understand them. Like that happens all the time. Remember when I wanted to get that tattoo of Andrew Young on my shoulder? Natalie looks at her as though she's going to punch her in the throat. She's like, when did this? I don't give a fuck about your goddamn stupid civil rights activist tattoo, which also is an insane thing because I looked this up. It's illegal to get a tattoo before the age of 18, even with parental consent in the state of New York.
I got my nipple pierced without parental consent under the age of 18.
Yeah, I know about that story. I think you've told that on this podcast.
Gross. So Andrew Young became the mayor of Atlanta in January of 1982. So he had won with 55% of the vote and was reelected 80% of the vote after a very successful first term. He had worked with Martin Luther King and was actually with Martin Luther King when he was shot. He had also been thrown in jail by the previous mayor of Atlanta when he was working with Martin Luther King. So for him to become mayor was a huge deal and a huge deal for Black people. And so I kind of, all in all, not the worst tattoo idea. Better than a lot of mine. I got Scooby Dumb. I got a lot of dumb tattoos. So
no, and but here's the thing: is that that's just such a like. I guess it certainly was a huge moment in Black American history in '82, but to use it as a sort of throwaway line for like a 13-year-old girl on a
it was jarring. I don't
she's
disagree.
Like, because it's like, here's the thing: Natalie has never, Tootie has never evinced any real interest in that sort of stuff. It would be more if she's like, remember when I was going to get my Jermaine Jackson tattoo?
1,000%.
Way more on brand for Tootie, right?
Yeah, I agree.
The other thing is that going back to tattooing history is that, so first of all, it's still illegal to get a tattoo in New York State before the age of 18, even with parental consent. But also in New York State, tattooing was illegal from 1967 to 1997.
67 to 97?
Mm-hmm.
Tattooing in general?
In New York City.
You couldn't get a tattoo in New York City in all of the 90s?
Nope. It was illegal and it took a really long time for it to be repealed. partly, so first of all, it was made illegal. Obviously, you could, but it was very much an underground thing. And there were underground tattoo parlors, but it was, which made it sort of extremely like you had to be in the know too. And it was a way of signaling that you knew tattoo artists, you knew where to find them. But also you weren't going to like squeal on it. But it was the reason why that happened was because of a hepatitis B outbreak that happened in the late 60s in New York. And it was because of needles. And I think it just then became a very political thing because of AIDS. And it was like needle problems, blood. And I think it was just a sort of whole conservative holdover until the late 90s. But yeah, fun fact.
Fact of fact. So Natalie says this is bigger than Black rights. This is about having a link to her creative side.
Yeah.
She wants to know where it came from. She wants to find her real parents. Natalie goes into her chest where her diary with the key in the sock is. She has a shoebox of letters she's been secretly writing to foundations that reunite kids with their birth parents. And Tootie pretends like she hasn't already gone through that entire chest and knows everything about that.
Yeah, true.
She says she's even thinking about it makes her feel disloyal to her parents. But how about writing it to like 6 million different companies?
Well, so she says so Tootie's like, oh, but they're not going to help. They can't help. And she's like, well, they can, but I need to wait until I'm 18. And so I was like, well, yeah,
it's like the tattoo.
Well, to find who your birth parents are, for
Tootie's
sure.
Like this is exactly the same.
No, but I was sort of like that. Don't even mention this. You know what I mean? Like this was irrelevant.
Yes. She goes like, well, what if she has a brother in the army that needs a pen pal? And then she goes, or a sister in Columbus. Just as though if she's in Columbus, you know she needs something.
Yeah, as though those are the same thing.
Yeah. Like Columbus is Ethiopia in 1982.
I've been to Columbus. It's a perfectly nice place. They have very good ice cream.
Which Columbus?
Ohio.
How do we know?
Oh, I just assumed it was Columbus, Ohio.
Maybe.
True. That was my bad.
More specific with the first one. And then weirdly said Columbus was like that means she's obviously needs me. Because Columbus. It was very weird.
It was so weird because it was almost as though they fell asleep while writing it. They're like, yeah. What if I have a brother in the army who needs a pen pal? Laugh. Or a sister in Columbus who's
yes.
And then they just woke up. They're like, oh shit. Okay, wait, hold on. Where were we? Yeah. Okay, we don't have enough time. We got to keep going. And then they say something almost completely incoherent. Natalie opines, very sort of sadly. She goes, yeah, I go to ball games. When did she ever go to fucking ball games? That's never happened. She's never evinced any interest in baseball. I go to ball games. And I look out at a sea of heads, wondering if one of those heads belongs to me. This inexplicably gets laughter. Like, the audience goes nuts.
And I wondered if it was just because they were like, what did that mean? I don't know, but I think we should be laughing. Oh, okay. I don't want to feel foolish.
I feel like if you signed up to be in the studio audience of the Facts of Life, you automatically feel foolish.
Yes.
Okay, but this episode is especially bad. So in comes Mrs. Garrett. She goes, Natalie, a letter arrived for you from your mother. And then she's like, well, shit, she must have, wow, she just sent it yesterday. It came by special mail. Well, she must be really pissed.
Special delivery.
Yes.
And even though her mother was there yesterday, which meant that she had to rush home and scramble this letter together and be like, all right, off to the mail now, special delivery.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Or maybe she got on the bus and went 2 hours to today was the day with her Chinese man.
Yes.
Anyway, it came special delivery because Nat's mom couldn't wait for the regular mail to write her a fuck you. After some hemming and hawing and asking Mrs. Garrett to stay for some warmth and understanding, Natalie finally opens the letter.
Yeah.
Nat's mom writes that she realizes the argument wasn't about the job. It was about Nat's need for answers, but I think it was about the job.
Yeah. And here, and again, which is why I think you and I were blowing off so much angry steam at the top of this podcast recording, is that I completely agree that the mom standing in the way of this really cool job is bullshit. But I also think that the fact that Natalie is searching for answers, we could have just started there and have the mom been like, that makes me uncomfortable because I want to be the only mom for you. You know, I like the fact that I'm your only mom, you know, and I think that an adoptive mother for sure feels jealousy over the biological mom's connection with their child. It's just natural. And I think exploring that is worthwhile.
And I also think that Nat's mother should have done this fucking face to face.
No shit.
It's just ridiculous that this poor girl has to deal with this in this manner.
It's oddly manipulative and underwritten. Anyway, so then she gets this information. She's like, finally, she's like, but now, you know, your father and I discussed it. So we think you're searching for answers. So here's the answer. Here's the name of your mom.
Ellen Mannheim.
I Googled this just out of curiosity. I was like, I wonder if there's an Ellen Mannheim. You know, and the thing is that there really kind of isn't. And Google kept being like, do you mean Cameron Mannheim? And I was like, no. And it kept being like, but you probably mean Cameron Mannheim. You want Cameron Mannheim.
A lot of people have been looking for Cameron Mannheim. They're wondering where she is. Are you one of those people? Have you forgotten her to the point where you think she's Ellen Mannheim? A lot of people have. Don't worry. You mean Cameron Mannheim.
Google kept saying, you probably mean Cameron Mannheim. Cameron Mannheim, wife. Cameron Mannheim, net worth. Cameron Mannheim, career. I was like, I know. I want Ellen Mannheim.
Well, so does Natalie. We pan in awkwardly. This episode is a bunch of really awkward pan-ins. It's like they're not even when they're serious. Like sometimes Blair could be like, I can do yo-yo, and it's like pan in. Like, what are your pans? Tootie's like, Natalie's handing fame well. Pan in. Like, I feel like they just got the button.
And they were just operating it like,
yeah, like this is fun. Look at it; it just makes it seem like this is more important. Anyway, that was your nice, simple 2-scene act 1, classic Wolpert face style. Now we got a new scene, same location, classic Azad style.
Yep.
Natalie is now dressed as Harry Potter, complaining that everything in her wardrobe that the costume department has ever given her to wear sucks.
Well, yeah, she's like, I don't like this either. And she's like, I need to try something else on. And Tootie's like, well, you know, the only things left in your closet are your bathrobe and your hockey stick. Again, Natalie plays hockey? When did that happen? I will say, though, that Tootie in this scene is wearing a very fetching top.
Could you describe it for me?
Well, it was turquoise silk. It appeared to be turquoise silk, and it had sort of a nice flat front and no collar, kind of like a Nehru collar. It was a sort of a Cheongsong, kind of like it's sort of Asian-esque, sort of nice, attractive. So clearly, the costume department invested in making Tootie look great for Natalie's meeting with her birth mother.
Yeah, Natalie looks like
she says, I look like shit. I look like an eggplant. She doesn't look like an eggplant.
No, she doesn't. She's the wrong color. If you're gonna have her say she looks like an eggplant, make her purple.
Exactly, make her all purple. I know for a fact that she has a fucking purple sweater.
Yeah, we've all seen it.
We've all seen it multiple times. Where the hell was that? Put the fucking Mickey thing back on her.
Anyway, and also, why is Tootie holding all of the clothes?
All the clothes. And here's the other thing. You know what? Blair's the fucking fashion person. But what's Blair busy doing in the back? Yo-yo.
I love that. That told me it's been 1 week. And then Natalie says, this is how it goes. Natalie goes, I thought I would have had a long time to prepare for this meeting, but only a week. And the minute she says week, the camera just widens enough to include Blair fucking proing it on the yo-yo, just
Yeah.
tearing that baby up.
She looked great.
And
She
loved
mastered the yo-yo. Mastered the yo-yo.
My heart sang. I do not care for this episode. When yo-yo stuff happens, I'm all about it. I just am. I can't explain it. I just like it.
Okay.
I know
Anyway,
it's bad. Nothing
yes,
good
you know it's
comes
bad.
from yo-yo.
Anyway, so Tootie, so after Natalie expositions about like how
I hate to judge a child's body, but are Natalie's boobs unusually low this episode? Like in this outfit? Like they seem really low.
they're not low. It's what they're dressing her in. The bra might be not that supportive, but she's just wearing so many layers.
It's just like smushed and moved them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like she needs to. I feel like they told her, "Hey, you're supposed to be young. Just don't wear a bra. We'll just put you in a bunch of layers and smush it down."
Okay, we'll just smush it down. Yeah. So.
That's what it looks like. It's just terrible.
Yeah, she looks like Veruca Salt in Willy Wonka when she becomes that giant blueberry.
Yes, except once again, not the right color.
Not the right color. Red and brown, I guess.
Yeah, it's like
sort of
bloody stool. If you go to like
I will
the
say
paint
bloody
store and you need a color, you just request bloody stool.
Bloody stool. Anyway, so Tootie goes, so after Natalie, expositions about how long it's been and where we are, then she's like, I actually thought I was going to have a little bit more time to prepare for this, not just a week. And Tootie's like, I was really impressed by your fancy detective work. And she's like, fancy detective work? I just looked in the white yellow pages or whatever.
Yeah, and they bring that up a couple of times. Like it's like I feel like they got a network note where somebody was like, can you just put that connection together so I understand how she found her? Like how? What's happening? Anyway, so Natalie, Blair tells Natalie to relax, but neurotic is Natalie's only level, so she just doesn't know what to call her mother. Does she call her natural mother? Does she call her a birth mother? Does she call her I abandoned you as a baby mother? There's so many options. I just don't know what to choose. Naturally, as the show progresses, they choose the wrong one, like they do everything. They choose natural mother,
yes,
which you don't hear these days.
No.
So,
well, you also, what else you don't hear a lot these days? The R word. And they peppered that lot in last week for that very special episode.
Sure did.
Anyway, so she's like, well, I got all these moms now. Okay, so for everyone counting at home, she has her biological mother, and she has her adoptive mother who raised her, right? And Natalie then starts moaning about how
neither of them actually work on raising her, since Mrs. Garrett is her actual de facto mother.
Sure. Anyway, so then Natalie makes a joke and says, Mother's Day is going to cost me a fortune.
This is a Jewish thing?
I don't know. 2 cards? Two cards? Is it the postage? I don't understand.
Me neither. She contemplates small talk with her mother like, hey, Mom, why did you dump me? Was it because of my low boobs? Did I have them as a baby? Nat is worried that Mannheim is a German name, distinctly at odds with her Jewish heritage. Her family specifically doesn't drive Volkswagens for this very reason. This is going to be really hard for her.
So she certainly did. So she says, she's like, what am I going to say to my mom? What's for lunch? And why did you dump me 15 years ago? Tootie tries very reasonably to like calm her down and be like, she's probably just as nervous as you are. Because, I mean, confronting the child that you gave up for adoption that long ago, I think would be an awkward lunch, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll turn out, and then Natalie's whining again, being like, I'll turn out to be German and I'll have to attend the Oktoberfest.
Like that's a bad thing.
I literally wrote that down. I was like, Oktoberfest is super fun. All you do is party for almost 2 weeks. It started in Munich. Actually, and the funniest thing is that it's like, they have them all over the world now. But it's like a beer and fun fair. It's you sit around and drink all day long. A friend of mine went with her husband, and they both got so wasted that they got separated, and neither of them know how either of the other one got home. They were like, because it's that kind of insanity. But like they're both happily safe, whatever. But the funniest thing is that there's always a roundup after Oktoberfest in various in German newspapers for sure, but those have gone like viral about all the weird shit that ends up in the lost and founds after Oktoberfests. So can I give you a little list?
Of course.
Say one year there so every year there's always like 60 to like 90 pairs of dentures that are found. They're just sent right in. But that has gone down significantly because of dental implants.
Oh, I was going to say glue, like polydent quality has gone up.
No, it's just that if you think about old Germans, they probably didn't have, great dental work. But as dental work has gotten more sophisticated, fewer dentures are found now in 2020.
The new Germans have great teeth.
Yes. So one year, a large garden gnome dressed in the Bayern Munich football uniform was found and deposited at the Lost and Found. Lots of tubas and French horns end up at the Lost and Found because the Papa bands get wasted and then lose their instruments. One year,
or maybe they're like Natalie and they want to get rid of them because they hate their cello lessons, and so they hate their lessons. So they were like, I'm just going to leave it here. And be like, oh, it's gone.
One year, a live pet grasshopper, was deposited at the Lost and Found.
I don't understand how this works. Was it in did it have like a tank?
Yeah.
Okay.
The most expensive thing that was lost and turned in at Oktoberfest in Munich was a Segway.
Ah, I drove a Segway once.
Were you on a tour?
No, it was
it was on your set.
Yes.
It was on the set. Yes, of course.
And so I learned how to drive it because I had to prove to the actors that it was not dangerous. Yes. And then it was really fun.
It was fun. I think there's video of you doing it.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I was there when you were doing that.
Oh, that's awesome. That was a good day.
No, but everyone was like, because you were like, no, it's really simple, it's really safe and whatever, and you were just sort of like like very slowly, and everyone is like, this is going to cost us a fortune if someone dies, and it's like, no one is going to think you go so slowly, like if you're on a straight, like a level surface. Anyway, the last thing that was left at a Lost and Found in after Oktoberfest was a dachshund named Vasti.
Aw.
Yeah. So
was he reunited? Okay,
yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So Joe enters, and wait, hang on. Before that, this is where Nat says she looks like an eggplant, which she doesn't. And then Blair offers Natalie one of her gold chains to wear, like just to intimidate her mom, make her know she's a goombats. I got a gold chain. So Joe enters, and Blair is excited to show her what she's learned yo-yo-ually. Joe politely says, in a minute, and then very sensitively tries to talk to Natalie.
Yeah.
But Blair just acts as though none of that has happened.
Yeah.
She just continues on with her yo-yo demonstration like a nutbag, talking to herself. And I love this so much. Going up and down the thread with dazzling simplicity.
I hated this so much because this is this stupid juxtaposition of bullshit nonsense of just Blair. This is how they're giving Blair lines in this episode of her talking to her yo-yo while she's doing this and this, while Joe is meaningfully trying to connect with
Lisa
Natalie.
Whelchel is giving it her all. She's the only one who's even eliciting a real laugh out of me in this whole episode. And I know that she's just completely like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? I did laugh, but also what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
so
Joe's like sitting there comforting Natalie, being like, I mean, I bet you're feeling nervous, scared, a little angry. I felt the same way about after seeing my dad after 5 years when he was in the clink.
It's like diving into cold water. Once you get over the shock, you're fine. It's actually good advice.
Yeah, that's great advice. But here's Blair being like, blah, blah, blah.
She goes, up, down. She's trying her heart out. I laughed. And then she goes, returning ever so smoothly to my welcoming fingers. I loved it. Natalie feels better, too. Joe feels like she helped her friend. everybody's winning.
And then Blair says, well, didn't you see any of that? And Joe was like, did I see what?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. She tells Joe to stand back and eat her smoke, because smoke is what she calls her pussy.
No, again, it's like, all right, Polnicek, stand back and eat my smoke. This is like if you fed someone who has English as a second language, but they wrote it in their own language that they know, their primary language. Then they translated it using a foreign language dictionary into English without really knowing what the idiom is. Translated it back and then translated it back into English. Eat my smoke? What the fuck are we even talking about?
I told you that's what she calls her shenangadang.
Yeah. Anyway, so then
Blair goes, ready?
Yeah.
And then Joe goes, go crazy. And I loved this.
And Blair just starts, she's like around the world and starts flailing the fucking yo-yo around her head like a helicopter.
The lunatic.
Natalie and Tootie both scream and say, hit the deck. Everyone starts screaming. Mrs. Garrett enters. She starts screaming, falls down.
She could have just not come in. She could have seen it, shut the door. You get a laugh out of it, and it makes sense.
And been like, maybe I should hang out in the hallway. Then Blair falls over.
Spirals out of control.
This whole thing gets peals of laughter.
Well,
the audience is going crazy, and it gets applause.
Well, here's the thing: is that at first it does not get applause, and then there's one man who's going, and you know that was Stuart Walpert. There's like no doubt in my mind. And then he's like, "Come on, kids, everybody, all prison people, whoever's in the audience, clap for this. This is our moment. If this doesn't work, we cut the whole yo-yo bit out of the story."
I wish they had.
Oh, no, it's the only thing good about this episode.
No.
Anyway, all right. So Mrs. Garrett is less impressed. She's pretty angry. In fact, she wants to know what in the world Blair was doing. And a better question would be, what around the world was Blair doing? Because that's not the around the world I know.
Yeah.
She yells at her and tells her lunch needs to be served downstairs. And Blair's totally baffled at how this could have all gone wrong. She was absolutely brilliant earlier, and Joe calls her hopeless. And then Blair says, which is the quote of the episode in my head, "I tell you, I had that thing singing." What were the choices in this episode? Everything about this plot was so perfectly weird. Anyway, everybody but Mrs. Garrett leaves, and Mrs. Garrett tells Nat they better hurry so they can get her on that train, but Nat's having second thoughts. She's thinking about her parents, not the new ones, the old ones, the old new ones, but the batshit ones that won't let her follow her dreams. Those are the ones she's talking about. Anyway,
she feels disloyal.
Yeah, and because they're Jewish, she's like all guilt. Even if, it's not genetic, she's good at it. She was raised Jewish, but she's now German, so she doesn't know what to do with her guilt.
There are Jewish people who are German.
Yes, but still, culturally, she doesn't know what to do with herself.
The only thing we learn about this woman who gave Natalie up for adoption is that everyone in the family is allergic to strawberries.
Oh, no spoilers, please.
That's the only thing that of any sort of genetic interest, and that her grandfather's super tall.
6'6", baby. So anyway, so now she doesn't want to meet the new parents and hurt the old parents' feelings, despite the fact that the old parents seem to have gone out of their way to facilitate this meeting with the new parents. And Mrs. Garrett says the new parents did this because she thought she needed it. And that's like, I need suede boots in a car too. Are they going to send me that?
Why is she like this?
What she needs is an opportunity to start her career at a New York magazine called The Beat. And also, what is it with girls in the 80s loving suede boots?
They're very sexy.
My sister was like all about it. All she wanted was suede boots, and then she got them. She wore them all the time, and she wanted more. And by the time 1988 had come around, she had several suede boots, but then they weren't really in vogue anymore.
I think they were. I mean, at least when I think of, um, so Blair likes to wear a lot of leather boots that are like knee high, which are very attractive, and I think that that's kind of a holdover from the 70s. But what I do think of especially the very popular suede boots of the 80s were the like little booties that looked sort of like socks that I think like Madonna wore, and like, I don't know, I feel like
the ones that kind of fall down a little bit.
Yeah, they're very
cute.
louche. They had like, they were gray. Louche. They were gray suede, and they had like the folded over part that goes around your ankle, and those were decorated with like either like metal stars or something like that.
Kind of like folded like a classy foreskin almost.
A classy foreskin. That's how I think they described them in fashion school.
Yeah. Anyway, so Ness was freaked out that she's going to get answers to the questions, and they're not going to be the ones she wants. Like when she wrote, "Fuck Steve," that letter, "Will you rate me in your van? Check here for yes, check here for no." And he was like,
well, that was the answer that she wanted. Yes.
No, she got the no. Mrs. Garrett reminds us of the season 1 episode Adoption, where she said Natalie wasn't mature enough to want to meet her mom, but now it's season 4, and she's just plumb ready.
Okay.
And
okay.
Yes.
So Natalie's like, Mrs. Garrett very sort of gently is like, Natalie, what is this all about? And she's like, well, yeah, she says, as you said, in 2 hours, I'll have answers to 15 years of questions. And what if they're not the answers that I want? Right. Yeah. Like, what if my actual bio grandfather was a Nazi?
Like Blair's.
Yeah. Like Blair's. I mean, maybe Blair and Natalie are related, IRL. Anyway. So then Mrs. Garrett's basically like, now, as you said, now that you're a little older, 3 years hence, maybe I think that you can handle this because you're a grown up. Like you should take this information now because this is important, right?
Yes. And Mrs. Garrett, and Natalie says to Mrs. Garrett, she's just about ready. She just needs to put on 7 more coats and she'll meet Mrs. Garrett downstairs.
Mrs. Garrett's like, okay, we snap to it. We got to go get that train. We don't want you to be late. Then she leaves, and then Natalie goes to get her jacket, a bag, a purse, a hat, a Santa
wrap,
suit,
a scarf,
a Santa suit, a pair of a suit that makes you look like a dinosaur, an adult diaper. She puts on like all this clothes.
And she just stares in the mirror. For 7 minutes.
Okay.
They did not have an episode, and they were like, okay, we're going to have to use the yo-yo plot whether or not they applaud, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. And now, what happens? Where did we think we were going to learn? Did we think we were going to meet Miss Ellen Mannheim?
Sure, that sounds like it's a smart choice. That makes sense.
Makes sense, because that's dramatic. At least after all the shit we've been through, we could actually see an important revelatory moment for Natalie Green.
Yeah, my heart sank when I saw that awful Natalie's Mrs. Green woman sitting in her coat in her tacky house. Oh my God, that house is so tacky.
It was so ugly. And so Natalie
house coat was even uglier than the house.
So Natalie's adoptive mom is sitting on the couch reading a huge book in a turquoise house coat.
Hideous.
Yeah, really bad. Natalie comes in, and Natalie's mom goes, honey, is that you? Or dear? Or whatever. And it's Natalie. And she goes, oh, God, I guess I should stop wearing my dad's cologne.
Yeah, my sister with the suede boots, also, she wore men's cologne. She wore Adidas cologne for men, made it like a trend in the school. I thought it was very cool.
That is cool. Anyway, so in comes Natalie, and she's like, very cagey. She's like, hi, I've been spending time in the city today, and I thought I might sleep over at home tonight with you, Mom.
Natalie's mom looks genuinely pissed to see her. Like, she's like, what are you doing here? Like, annoyed.
No, she does not.
She does. And also, she was like, oh, I thought it was going to be your cheating father, but I guess he's getting, marinara poured down his throat at the La Boulons and 4th Street. Was it fuck? When later on she's going to be like, he's working a late shift, so I'm going to watch a movie. Then why did you think he was here? There's no trust in that relationship with you and your husband, Mrs.
No, she goes
Green.
that she's like, oh, but so I actually think that I will say that I had the opposite interpretation here in terms of the mom. I actually thought that the mom was delightfully surprised to see her daughter, but that they were still sort of on eggshells around one another. And Natalie was trying to be like, because the mom gave her information that she didn't know that she was using yet, right? About the birth mom, whatever, the biological mom, and
natural mom.
She comes in, she's like, "Hi, Mom. I thought I might, spend the evening. I thought I might sleep over here tonight, if that's okay." And she's like, "Oh yeah, well, Dad's on duty, and I was just about to watch a Greta Garbo movie in 5 minutes. Like, I'm so excited. So, how's it going?" And it's like, fine. Fine. And then she's like, well, and she goes, well, I met her today.
Oh, before that, just before she says I met her today, I thought it was really weird how she was like, I got Mrs. Garrett's approval so I can stay at my own house.
Well, because Mrs. Garrett would be expecting her to come home, to come back to
you. So then you say, I told Mrs. Garrett I'm staying at home. Not, she has allowed me to stay at your house, Mother.
Fair enough.
I just thought it was very weird.
Yeah.
Walter Fay phrasing. Yes. That's not how anybody would say it. They would be like, I told her I'm going to stay here.
I agree.
Mrs. Garrett says it's okay. I can stay in my bedroom. Anyway, so I just wanted to get that. Just another little notice of bad writing that I wanted to point out. But yes, she says, I met her today.
Anyway, so then, she goes, I met her today. And she goes, oh, who? Oh.
Yeah, are you kidding me with the who? And then Nat explains for the millionth time, oh, it's a phone book. I found her in the phone book.
I just looked her up, all these years, and she just lives 2 blocks away from my orthodontist. And so I actually thought this was played rather subtly, this scene, because it vacillates between, Natalie telling her mom this information that she feels jealous about, and kind of doesn't and does want to know about this, And she's like,
she doesn't want to know shit about it. And she says exactly that.
She does, but then she actually says she's going to be in your life. I do want to know.
Yeah, but I don't believe her when she says that.
I did.
That's the PC version that she was like, I got to say this. I'm on camera. Azad's right there. They just tricked out the cafeteria to look like my apartment. There's no way I can not say this.
Well, anyway, so she goes, yeah, well, she lives right by my orthodontist. She has a great apartment, not this trash heap that's decorated like a hobo whore decorated it. And she goes, it's one of those old ones with high ceilings, not this squat little hovel that we live in, Mom and Dad. And then she's like, and then the mom starts like, walking away. And Natalie's like, literally like everyone else on this fucking show, Natalie starts telling her about her biological mom, completely oblivious to visual and audible cues of someone's discomfort.
It's so funny. I totally took this in the opposite direction. Whereas I'm like, what a child that her mother is being. And poor Natalie is 15 years old, and she shouldn't have to read between the lines. She doesn't want to believe that about her mom. Her mom would never be so petty and so childish and spoil such a momentous day for her, especially when Natalie's come all the way over to share what she's learned, to be like, you're my real mom, and I learned this, and I want to tell you about it and share this shit with you because it's important in my life. And also, Natalie's natural mother made a fucking cake. All fucking Mrs. Green does is say, I will make popcorn, and then she doesn't make popcorn. Natalie has to be like, go make the popcorn.
How dare you, Dominik? Natalie's mom didn't even know that Natalie was coming over. Of course she wouldn't have made a fucking cake.
Well, apparently, Ellen Mannheim made the cake in Natalie's present.
No, she had made it because they had this arrangement that she was going to go over there and meet her for the first time.
That's not how I interpreted it.
Oh, please.
She was like,
anyway,
I will whip up a cake.
No, as I was going to just say, the reason why I thought this was handled well was because I thought that the mom was basically showing that she was jealous and upset about this relationship that she was obviously having to confront that her daughter is going to have with this new person. And she's confronting it, and she says, she has a bond with you. And because she has a bond with you, because I like being the only mother in your life, and it's hard to say no to your child. And it's extra difficult as an adoptive mother because you feel like you're always competing with someone, someone more lenient or understanding or fun, and it's like and then Natalie very disingenuously says, Mom, I didn't go looking for my natural mother because I wasn't happy with you. Yes, you fucking did.
Yes, I agree with that. She did.
So, but I think that this scene, at least for the insanity that, this episode was, I think they were both confronting the fact that they were both disappointed in one another and that there's this new reality that they're going to have to confront, which is the fact that Natalie Green is going to have a relationship with this Ellen Mannheim person, which does she? Do we ever meet Ellen Mannheim? No. No.
No.
No.
No. Anyway, so Natalie also tried to say that she looked like her grandmother, if that, which is, I imagine that's like something that's a really big deal to somebody who was adopted, but Natalie's adopted mother wants nothing to hear about this. And then she's like, I feel like I have her lips, if it's possible to have someone's lips. Why wouldn't it be possible to have someone's lips?
Who knows? Again, I think it's kind of like going back to that thing about being like, does one of those heads belong to me?
Just like maybe they don't have the best grasp on the English language.
But as I said, it's like this weird sort of like it's like they're almost at like the thing. Here's the thing. I feel like lips are the weird thing. You would go with nose. Like I have my mom's nose, or I have my dad's eye color, or whatever. You would go with like, is it possible to have someone's lips? No.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it is, but like that's not the first thing that you would go to logically to make that joke.
Well, maybe that's the only thing she had.
Okay.
Anyway, so Nat tries to open up about how her birth mother was single when she had her, and this was a time when that was frowned upon. But instead of being a caring mother, showing no true connection to her daughter, being a right prick, she finds the letter that Susan Kramer sent her, and then goes, "Is that the one from camp with the braids?" Just desperate not to talk about Ellen fucking Mannheim. Natalie's like, "I think you're thinking of Thindy." Nat finally wises up and asks if she wants to hear about this. Mom's like, "I don't want to hear a word about it." No. She lies and says she's happy you found your natural mother. These are going with natural. And she says she's happy because it's important to Nat, but she still doesn't want to hear about it at all. So, whatever.
No, she didn't say not at all.
Being possessive. She likes being the only mother in Natalie's life. I get her point of view. I just think that she's not acting as though she's talking to a 15-year-old that's dealing with something pretty huge.
I agree that I think that that's what this climactic scene, why it's important, is because you literally get to see that Natalie is full of all this information about all these quote answers to all these 15 years of questions that she's had, right? And so we see that, but we see Natalie be full of this information, processing it, right? But actually not really seeing that she's causing her mom distress, her adoptive mom distress, by saying these things. And so, but we also get to see the adoptive mom have to go on her own arc to basically be like, okay, this is important. You need to tell me this stuff. I'm processing myself. I want to know more about this. And then it's by the end of the episode, we get this moment of, the only thing that I have is that we all have this, we all genetically have we are allergic to strawberries, but that Natalie says that, I learned that my mom, my biological mom, works for the phone company and makes a good carrot cake, and that we're both allergic to strawberries. That's what I learned. the reason why I'm interested in creativity and I'm interested in writing is because, and want to be a journalist, is because Dad always read the newspaper to me in my favorite chair, and then look at all these shelves full of books. I was either going to be a writer or I was going to be a carpenter.
And then her mom shits on her again.
No.
Yeah, she does. She's like, yeah, you're not a carpenter. I have that ashtray you made me in school, in shop class. And she's like, no, that was a spice rack. It's like, yeah, that's how much you suck at making shit that but it's like, you know that she said, hey, look, I made you a spice rack. And Mom couldn't even be bothered to remember what Natalie called it.
No, absolutely not.
That
was
happened.
Not a neg. That was bad jokes. They were like, these Wolpert and Faye, whatever, Deirdre Faye, were like, shit, we gotta go out on a couple laughs because this has been some heavy shit. And then like they make an insane statement. She's like, look at all these shelves of books. Oh, because of these, I was so influenced by these shelves, I might have been a carpenter.
Yeah. This is just garbage. So it had nothing to do with the raising. It just had to do with the fact that they had books.
Yes. So just say that. Just be like, you were so great with me, with giving me all of this literary education. No, Wolpert and Faye wanted to make a shitty joke at the end of the episode where she was like, yeah, I remember you made me that, you weren't going to be a good carpenter because you made me that ashtray in shop class. And she was like, that was a spice rack. First of all, that as a concept of a joke doesn't even make sense.
Because you make things out of wood in shop class and you would not make a wooden ashtray.
Exactly.
Infuriating.
I was like, at this point, I was going to break my pen. I was so annoyed at the laziness of this.
I agree.
I totally get what you're saying about, like, because that, again, like, that's just a sort of weird, shitty neg being like, well, you got to fall back on that writing thing because you sure aren't going to be a carpenter. Like, no mom would ever say that. But again, to just fill it in with this dumb joke about how the spice rack resembled an ashtray?
Nothing at all makes sense. It like hurts your brain to even think about all of the things that are wrong with that one joke.
Yeah.
Just to backtrack for 1 second, Natalie had said that her mom didn't have to give her the name. And Nat's mom was like, yes, I did. I have to do things that make our relationship worse, like cello, like the newspaper job, like staying with your father after he cheated on me. And now this, whatever I can do to make you unhappy, I am going to do. And then Nat's mom says she feels like she's competing with somebody more fun, understanding. Then just be those things. If you were those things, Nat would probably never have to go look for her mother. This is your fault, lady.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is a insane misreading of what adopted kids feel like. I have adopted family members in my extended family, and that is part of the journey of becoming, of learning your past. Partly because of genetic disorders, because you want to know when you yourself become a parent, and you want to know whether or not you might, be diagnosed with, certain types of breast cancer at an early age, whatever. You usually want to know who your biological mother is because of those reasons. And so it is 100% part of the journey. And so what you're doing is you're misrepresenting the fact that this woman was like, I just thought that, you might want to be with someone who is more lenient and more fun, lenient and more understanding or fun. And that is basically Mrs. Green showing her insecurities around what any other, like, idealistic mom, the other mom might be in her mind. Her boogeyman is every other mom is cooler than I am, isn't such a hard ass, and is way better than I am, because every mom feels insecure about what another mom might be.
Nat's mom wants to know if Ellen gave her the answers she was seeking, and apparently some, but not the big ones, like, why do you want to write? Such a weird quest to be on. Like, it's not relevant to anything. It's not like, all writers are bequeathed from a line of other writers, or like, if you're raised well, you're a writer, or poorly, you're not. Like, none of that.
Like, here's the thing. If Natalie were like, an Olympic swimmer, right? Maybe it would be cool to know that, like, that was a sort of a genetic gift.
Her grandfather was a dolphin. That's good information.
I learned that my 6'6" grandpa was a dolphin, right? Yeah. That would be useful. Cool. Where did this come from? Because I grew up with these two nebbish doctors on the Upper West Side. How am I such a great swimmer? Writing is not the same thing.
Also, Nat seems disappointed that her mother, Ellen, was just works for the phone company, has a boring job, and is not doing something cool like sitting on her ass reading novels in her ugly turquoise house coat, sabotaging her daughter's future. And also, carrot cake is better than popcorn, especially popcorn that you mentioned you were going to make but did not.
Well, that's because Natalie derailed the whole conversation.
Nat went there to have this conversation. Yeah. Also, it's gross when Nat's mom is like, if she turns out to be a Pulitzer-winning author, just kill me now. Fuck you, lady.
No, that's just, again, as I said, I have sympathy for that concern about being like, about jealousy about something that you can't control.
So this is where we learn the jaw-dropping news that Natalie's whole natural family, is that where she got the name Natalie from? Short for natural? I just wanted to tribute to your natural family.
Yes.
Anyway, so they're all allergic to strawberries, just like Nat, which seems to make Nat's mom want to kill herself. Bond like strawberry allergies is far too hard to overcome. She's probably thinking about how to sneak strawberries into that popcorn she's never going to make. Anyway, so Natalie studied this woman's apartment looking for signs for her, like a shrine to the baby I gave away or something. I don't know. She seemed annoyed there was no such shrine, so now she's having to do the work of making her mom feel better rather than relay the life-changing day that she spent with her natural mother.
You are absolutely not going to, like, shit talk Mrs. Green here in this whole scene and, like, create a narrative that 100% did not exist in this episode just to fulfill the fact that you think that Mrs. Green is a piece of shit.
Well, I think this is how we know that Wolpert and Faye are such terrible writers, in that we both had two completely different viewing experiences because they wrote such an incomplete script that we both had to fill in our own blanks to make things make sense, like those lines that just couldn't make sense. And so that's where we're at there. But,
yeah, because it's incoherent about its intention.
Yes.
Because here's the thing: is that it could have had two. It could have the intention was, I learned today, Natalie Green, that who I am is not purely based on my genes or my upbringing, right? I'm a combination of all of those things, right?
Yes, it's not all about bloodlines.
Exactly. Fine. Good. Everyone knows that, right? But apparently this show is so goddamn fucking ham-fisted that the way that we got to that message, to that fact of life, you and I have gotten into such insane fisticuffs over this stupid episode because of it. The intention may have been one thing, but every other part of it to get to that message was so convoluted and bad.
Yes.
Including the yo-yo. I'm actually mad on the yo-yo's behalf because they should have used the yo-yo in another episode for other lols.
They should have ended that yo-yo story. There should have been a third beat to that yo-yo story.
It should have been the third beat. It should have been Blair busting through the wall of the Natalie Green's parents' apartment like the Kool-Aid punch man, holding that yo-yo, being like, I got it now. And
even if a yo-yo just flings through the window and she was just like, Blair drove me
being
here.
like, I got it, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, Nat says she still has some questions, as we all do at this point, and her mom shuts that down. She's like, give it some time. You don't need answers right now. Just stop this. And Nat's like, fine, then make the fucking popcorn. Anyway, and put on a nice outfit while you're at it. Ellen had pants on.
You know what? Natalie's not wearing a nice outfit either. So everyone in this scene can look like shit if they want.
She thought about her weird, horrible, bloody stool outfit.
Well, but also, Natalie's mom didn't know that Natalie was going to show up, so she was wearing her perfectly fine, nice muumuu.
It is not perfectly fine, and it is not
It is
nice.
perfectly fine. If no one else was going to be there, she thought that she was going to have a perfectly solo evening in to eat popcorn and watch a Garbo movie and jerk off. In comes Natalie being like, hey, I just had a really fun time with my actual mom. You suck. Why didn't you make popcorn? You knew that I was coming. Actually, wait, you didn't know that I was coming.
If an ugly muumuu is worn in the woods and no one sees it, is it still ugly?
Not if anyone didn't see it.
All right. Agree to disagree once again. Anyway, Nat's finally like, let's just watch the fucking Garbo movie. And then her mom's like, Garbo, I want to hear about this woman now. Now that I've made you feel like shit, now tell me about her. Now I'm into it.
No.
And
Natalie's trying to diffuse this. She's like, I'm when I get upset, I want to eat my feelings. So where the fuck is this popcorn, Mom? And then she's like, whoa, no, slow down. I don't want to watch this movie right now. And she's like, because she's like, I actually want to know more about Ellen. Please tell me more because she's going to be part of our life. She's going to be part of your life. I want to know more.
And we also
like,
get
what
this
about
great...
the Garbo movie?
Yeah,
what about the Garbo movie? And then she goes, Garbo's been in hiding for 40 years. She can wait a few more minutes. That's the kicker.
Yeah. So Garbo's been in hiding for a few years, so we can miss the first few minutes of the movie.
Again, incoherent.
Incoherent. Infuriating. So
absolutely now, unbearable. This
yes.
was one of the worst episodes I have ever seen.
I agree. This was a real bad one. I said the minute I saw that it was them, I was like, I'm gonna start my notes with the writer, and I was like, oh, this one's gonna be rough.
It's so interesting that, like, what are the other ones that these two people wrote?
Oh, they've written a lot. I mean, they wrote the movie.
Yeah. Well, they were part of the writing team of the movie. Yeah. Well, but that's what's so interesting is that, this show takes very serious issues, right? And tries to make them digestible or interesting or relatable for a young audience of primarily children and young women, right?
Yep.
And this is how they handled this is appalling. That they were like, we're going to do this whole thing about Natalie and her mom going through the issue of her meeting her biological mother and them coming to terms with how that is going to shift their dynamic. And it made everyone look bad.
Not
everyone involved in this, aside from maybe Joe, who's like came in, comforted Natalie, and then, left.
Like, and made fun of Blair.
Yeah, but like it was like someone was like, we're going to handle this adoption, the adoption arc of Natalie's, and we're going to treat it with the sensitivity of Chainsaw Massacre. Like, this is going to be a bloodbath of everyone involved.
Yeah, that seems right.
So what happens next week?
Well, hang on. We get a lot of facts about Ellen that neither we nor her mom want to hear about. She's 38. She's quiet, but nice quiet. Not like Nat, who likes to talk a lot. Mom interrupts to get one last punch in. I know. Yeah, you like to talk a lot. Fuck you. Ellen's father was a train engineer. Whoopie ding. Ellen's father is 6'6" and from Rhine Valley, which Nat's parents drove through once. Great. The camera gives us one last classic pan in, just like they love that button. So we pan in on a photo of Natalie and her asshole mom hugging reluctantly. Natalie says she wants to learn German. Maybe she'll take it next year because all she knows is Dankeschön. She might even visit her natural German family. Check out Oktoberfest. Doesn't seem so bad now that she knows that it's just drinking and sausage. And or Oktoberfest probably preferable to an evening with her mother, who was a nightmare. And then we are out of that wretched episode. So, yeah. Sorry.
How many more of these does this writing team write?
A lot, I think. Not that many. I think we're almost done with their stuff. But I could see if I can pull that up for you. Stuart Wolpert. All right, let's see if we can figure this out real quick.
Honest to God, I am sorry. There's a siren going by. I thought that this was going to not take us 2.5 hours. Because I was like, this was such a sort of trash fire, and I came away with it with such a strong opinion that it was so incompetent and everyone looks bad, basically kind of, but that it, aside from the mom, and you were like, wow, I have the exact opposite. I mean, I didn't expect this to be one of the ones that maybe like 20 minutes in being like, I actually don't know if I can keep going on this podcast if it's going to be like this.
He's got 12 more episodes left, but one of them is my absolute favorite. And the show really does change by the time that episode gets around, which is next year. So hopefully that is something that will ease your mind. I don't know. I will tell you that the next episode we got is called A Woman's Place.
Oh God.
And I believe, I'm just going to confirm that this is when Joe gets a job at a gas station or a mechanic shop. And she excels. So we'll see. I think you will. Also, Joe suddenly has a boyfriend. So you get to meet Doug. So we'll see what you think. After today, who knows? We were on such opposite sides. Anything is possible. You might just love this one.
Well, but I also think that
I can't believe this episode has gone on longer than last week's. That's what's shocking.
Yeah. I will also just say that I think partly some of my pent up, not even pent up, but energy, let's just say that negative energy directed towards this is mostly anxiety related in terms of what's going on.
Yes, once again, we're in a period of this will be probably released 7 weeks from today.
In any case, so you can understand how I myself am on eggshells right now.
So everybody looking back 7 weeks ago, you'll remember that we were in the midst of a pandemic.
Yes.
And the election was upon us and nobody knew what was going to happen. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
And why we have decided to spend over 2 hours talking about this episode. And for me, I don't know about you, 4 hours working on the notes for it, because it's a lot better to think about that than what's actually happening.
Absolutely. And not only is the watching of the episode, the note taking, but also the talking about this nonsense. It's very cathartic. Good. It's like, at least right now, it's like scream therapy for me. So
I got that early on. I think that you settled into a rhythm, but the first 20 minutes, I think if people are watching the visual version of this podcast, you will see the fear in my eyes. But until then, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. We're going to keep churning these out until the government makes us stop. I saw there was I think it was an iTunes review, a very positive review, but they were like, did the Go to Paris movie break you guys? So I'm excited that we're back roaring through, and we'll never leave you guys. I need Britt to meet Pippa. So if she doesn't meet Pippa, then this was all for nothing. Anyway, until then.
Okay. Bye.
Fuck that's mom.